Saturday, January 8th, 2022, Monaco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. So we're going to look at whether there's a Biden economic miracle, whether there's any substance to that statement. Yesterday we saw the jobs data come out, non-farm payroll, and the White House tweeted yesterday, and they said, under President Biden, the economy has created more jobs per month than any other president ever. And they put a little bar chart with all the different presidents up until from Ronald Reagan onwards. And as you can see, Joe Biden has created more than 550,000 jobs per month since he's been in office. And the surprise here is Trump, because it says that under his administration, the economy lost around 50,000 jobs per month. And I saw a video by Snip4, who I enjoy watching quite a bit. I followed him for years. And he was pretty outraged and said, well, these are all lies. I have some bad news for you, Joe. This is actually real. The Bureau of Labor Statistics, they didn't tinker with the data. And we're going to see why the Biden economic miracle, though, is really got not much substance behind it, in my opinion. And before we look at the jobs data, the non-farm payroll, I've gone through the statistics since 2017, since Donald Trump took over in January 2017 up until December 2021. But before I start, I like to reference, and a lot of people credit it to different people like Mark Twain or former British Prime Minister Benjamin Disraeli, but be as it may, there's the old saying about there being lies, them lies, and then there are statistics. And this is a case of that, I would say. Even Bloomberg, for example, back on the 20th of December, they had an article saying Biden's economic performance has proved unbeatable. So I'm impartial. I don't favor any political side. I don't like politics at all. My view is that if voting mattered, it would be made illegal. So keep that in mind. I'm not trying to say that Trump did really well or Biden is doing really well. I'm just trying to show you that this Biden economic miracle, so to speak, is nothing but a statistical quirk. So we're going to look at the non-farm payroll data that comes out, of course, every month in the US, every first Friday of the month. It's been a very important number, of course, for the markets. So I took these numbers from investing.com. They probably took it from the BLS. I just found it easier because I use investing.com. And my numbers were very close to what the White House tweeted. But again, lies, them lies, and statistics. So let's go through. And I took the whole of January 2017. I know the presidents are inaugurated on January 20th, but I've just made it easier. I took it from January to December every year. So in 2017, under the Trump administration, 2,125,000 jobs were created. So it was an average of 177,000 jobs a month. In 2018, 2,521,000 jobs were created, and that was the best year for the Trump administration. And I know that there's always the saying towards the end of the Trump administration or just before the election that it was the greatest economy ever. Do I think it was the greatest economy ever? Not really, because in 2019, prior to the 2020 collapse, the budget deficit was 4.6%. And knowing that government spending is added on to GDP just shows that the economy was doing okay, but it wasn't the greatest economy ever, I would say. The debt was growing. I know the job situation improved for a lot of different sectors of society. And I do have to say that some of the policies President Trump enacted were good for the economy. So, but anyway, let's continue with the data. So, as you can see, in the first 2 years, we're up to around 4.6 million jobs created. 2019 actually wasn't a good year compared to the first two. We dropped to 2,088,000 jobs and 174,000 jobs each month. In 2018, the average was 210,000, so it dropped off. And now I'm going to look at 2020, but I'll look at it first, the first 2 months of 2020, January and February. And why? Well, because you're going to see that from March onwards, everything went haywire. And you probably know why, because of the pandemic and the lockdowns, the economy shut down, right? But in the first 2 months of 2020, the average non-farm payroll job creation was 274,000. So I averaged that with the first 3 years. And I think this average gives a better indication of how the Trump administration really did. And that's what I think, if politicians were honorable, they would have said in that tweet that the reason why the Trump administration data looks so bad is because of the pandemic, because it, as you will see in a second, it disrupted everything. So yes, 208,000, almost 209,000 jobs was the best since the Clinton administration. So if you look at the rest of 2020, though, you will understand why the final Trump numbers look so bad. The worst since Ronald Reagan. So we'll start with March 2020, when everything kicked off. Non-farm payrolls dropped by 870,000. April, 20,687,000. So almost 21 million jobs were lost there. And then from May up until November, it picked up again quite significantly. For example, in May, it went up by 2.7 million non-farm payroll. June, 4.8 million. July, 1.7 million. August, 1.5 million. September, 672,000, and so on. And the total loss, though, for 2020 was 8,905,000 jobs. And net for the whole Trump administration, there was a loss of 2,171,000 jobs. And that's true. That's the statistic. What that tweet, though, from the Biden administration or the Biden White House doesn't tell you is that there was a massive event in March and April 2020 that had never happened before, where you shut down an economy, people lost their jobs. And after that, though, there was a massive stimulus as well under President Trump. And that's the other thing I would say. Yes, we have the highest inflation in 40 years, and people are blaming it a lot on Biden. But I would say the seeds of that inflation, of the rising prices, was built under the Trump administration, because we had massive QE that the Fed came out with, and we had the massive fiscal spending. And it hasn't only been President Biden that has spent a lot fiscally, President Trump as well. And is it any wonder that the economy picked up again very quickly? No, because they did something to it that had never been done before, a loss of like over 21 million jobs in 2 months. And that's why the Trump job statistic looks so bad. So let's look at the Biden job statistics. Well, I went through it from January 2021, and I know he took over on January 20th, but makes it easier. And maybe that's why my numbers are slightly different than the White House. But I summed it all up, and the average non-farm payroll increase in 2021 under the Biden administration was just under 500,000 as per the numbers that I have, 494,000 to be exact. But if you look at the Trump administration, though, after the lockdowns, the average was a lot higher than 4,994 because we had months with 2.7, 4.7, 1.7, right? So again, the statistics, right? And the other thing that I would point out that shows that the economy isn't really doing that great is a statistic called labor force participation. So that's the, so what does that mean? It means, let's say the total labor force, people that are of working age or not retired, would be 100%, right? But as you can see here by this chart, labor force participation is below 62%. So we could also say that this is the lowest labor force participation since 1977, or 45 years. So is it really a great economy? Is it really a Biden economic miracle? No. But let's say that President Trump had been reelected, and that's another subject, and I'm not going to go into that, but let's say he had carried on and started his second term. He could use the same reasoning as the Biden administration is doing. He would, of course, forget about his first term and it'd be looking, oh, I've had the best start of any second term president in terms of job creation. So that's what I'm trying to say here. Yes, the economy is not doing well. And the other thing I would say that we have to look at is the budget deficit. As I said, in 2019, under President Trump, almost 5% budget deficit. So in the last 2 years, in 2020, the budget deficit, for example, was 15%. That's huge. So without that government spending, GDP and also job creation would have been really low. And you can thank President Trump for that budget deficit. And it's continued in 2021. President Biden hasn't stopped it. I think it's going to be around 10 to 12%, the budget deficit for 2021. For this fiscal year ending in September 2022, I think it's going to be like just under 10%, maybe 7%. So yes, don't be fooled. And no, it's not an economic miracle. It's just a quirk because of the pandemic, of the big losses in March and April of 2020. That's why it looks like President Biden has had the best start of any president ever. And I would say the cost of living, as many working class, common American is seeing now, is going through the roof. And it's not just in the US, it's here in the UK, everywhere around the world. And I don't think that's going to stop. So don't be fooled by these statistics and by politicians, I would say. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the like button. Please share it far and wide. Think about subscribing to my channel if you haven't yet. And you can also follow me on Rumble, Twitter, Facebook, and all these other platforms below here. I wish you all a great rest of the weekend. Take care. Bye.